welcome to the Legal Talk Show, proudly brought to you by Say What, with support from the Swedish Embassy in Zimbabwe. I'm the Dynamite, and joining me in the studio today are very important and special guests as we unpack the contents of drugs and substance abuse. So thank you so much for joining us on the Legal Talk Show today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Okay, so I would like you to introduce yourselves to the viewers so that they get to know you as we get into the subject matter of today. Starting with you, ma'am.
Okay, I'm Constable Mkewa. I work at the Victim Friendly Unit. Our section is mainly based on child protection.
Okay, and you?
My name is Holy Ten, leader of the Youth Speak the Truth, and I'm an artist. I'm also a representative of a trust that is called Free From Addiction, and we are pushing against drug abuse.
All right, and thank you so much for that. So let's get into the subject matter, because recently there's been an uproar on social media concerning the issue of drugs and substance abuse. So just to name a few, we have the Dominican convent high school girls that were expelled recently because of drugs and substance abuse. And with so many videos on social media concerning drugs and substance abuse, and it's so alarming and disturbing as young people. So I'd like to understand, maybe from you, Constable, to just define, Kuti, what is drug abuse for the benefit of our audience?
Okay. Drug abuse is when someone takes drugs or dangerous drugs or excess drugs without prescription. For example, we can say Bronclear is used as a cough syrup, but some they just use them or even abuse them without any prescription.
Okay,
yes.
Thank you so much for that. And maybe Holitan, in your own words, if you can go vernacular, I don't know how best you can relate, because there's a young person that is looking at you right now that needs to understand. Maybe if you can make use of the slang, whatever, just to define to us and tell us what really is drugs and substance abuse.
Drugs and substances are, like the officer was saying, these are the things that the youth are now taking in excess. We can talk about prescription pills, all the way to pain is Bronclear, alcohol abuse, this worrying substance, kuka, the crystal meth that's now on the street. So it's something that is now so rampant on the street. The youth are engaging in it. So those that we are partnering us with the constable so that we can help the youth to fight against these substances.
Okay, so maybe just for interest's sake, what is your stand in terms of the issue of drugs and substance abuse?
We are against it, even with all the music that I've been pushing. Because I've seen the consequences of this drug abuse. It's just that one path that leads to the coffin. Yes.
Okay, it's fine. So maybe to you, Constable, I'd like to understand in terms of the procedures, the process that is there. Drugs. What then is the procedure? What happens in terms of the legal frameworks?
Okay, we as law enforcers, I can say wherever someone is dealing with dangerous drugs or substances, that same person when he is known, he will be arrested. And then kana tasunga munhu madrugs, tinotora madrugs aya toenda nawo madrugs aya, and then procedure anoweiwa, and then munhu ochargwa necontravention section 157 of the Criminal Law Codification and Reform Act, Chapter 9.23, that is found in possession of dangerous drugs. And then munhu iye anoendeswa kucourt, and then madrugs here also endeswa kucourt as an exhibit. And then after that, kana aconvictwa munhu uya madrugs aya anotorwa and then odestroyed by fire. Apana patinombomudzoserera futi kuti tingati pane patinoti aiwa munhu iye ngaaramba achikuchengeta madrugs ake. We make sure kuti tamuzerwa munhu iye.
Okay. All right. And that's very interesting. Maybe from the recent conversation on social media in terms of the Dominican convent girls that were expelled from school, I'd like to understand, Holitan, because as I was listening to some of your songs, you address, you tackle on some of those issues. And you also talk about in terms of the girl child, A, B, C, D, and what. So I'd like to understand your point. Which are the drugs that are being really abused by young people? And what do you think is the stand of young girls in this menace?
Right now, we're looking at Bronclear and crystal meth, especially when I'm talking about ghetto. It's quite a lot about ghetto. we're talking about crystal meth. And then there are these names that are now given to these other drugs, bronchleoline, to make it sound cool. So I guess those are some of the drugs that these people are caught up with. But it's not the drugs, it's the push factor or the pull factor into the drugs that people like us, my artists, are here to talk about. There's all these things that are going on in the society, cyberbullying, there's financial problems, and you end up having young people, resorting to my drugs so that they can escape that mentality. And with so much peer pressure, there are even artists that sing some of this abuse that is going on. So I think even when we have a situation where people are expelled because of drug abuse, we also need to examine them, talk to them and try to help them. I guess that's why Kunema rehabilitation centers, because there's something that made those girls take drugs.
Okay, so I want to understand, this is interesting, from your own point of view, because you're saying kuti vasikana vari kutora madrugs. You're a boy child, you're in the society, you're in the community, you know what's happening there. Chii chiri kutopusha vasikana kunzi vanzi vatora madrugs? Because on a normal basis, we used to know kuti vakomana ndio vanoita zvemadrugs. And right now it seems to be a normal thing. Kuti vakomana vanoita zvemadrugs and it seems normal and nobody's worried. But because these are girls, there's been an uproar on social media. So I want you to enlighten us more on why and what is the push factor for vasikana in terms of drugs and substance abuse.
I think it's identity crisis, I guess. We're living in a very competitive world, very competitive society now. And self-esteem has become something really lacking in a lot of people. So, the drug makes you feel some kind of high. So I really also try to push people away from trying to blame mass situations. Trust me, 90% of the people that do drugs are experimentally.
Okay.
My experiment, yes. Because there are other ways of, freeing your mind from all this depression.
Okay. And maybe to you, Constable, as well, as we get deeper into the subject matter, I'd like to understand kuti pamunobata munhu munomusunga kuti ari in possession of my drugs. But there are some other cases whereby we already know in our communities kuti apa panotengeswa madrugs apa. Patronage based drugs, and then but nothing is really being done. So I want to understand from your own point of view, Kuti, what really is happening in our community and what is really the challenge in terms of addressing this issue.
Okay, in our communities, isusu semapurisa tinoshanda neatunoti ma-tip-offs. Tip-off because it's a community, but we police the community. Therefore, the people who are supposed to expose those people is the community. And then we as police officer, we then react. And tunototi operational orders react against those drug dealers. And because it's not only about dealing with drugs, but sometimes vamwe vanongo importer, vamwe vachiexporter, vamwe vachitorima chaiko chaiko. And saka isusu tinongopiwa information ne community. And then wherever we get the information, we react accordingly. Shanda nema departments akasiyana siyana. Sometimes futi tishandowa nevamwe vanenge vari community, vanenge vakadzidziswawo on how to tackle those. But now our challenges is some communities, they hide those drug peddlers. And like munhu anogona kunge ari landlord otorendesa imba yake kuti iitise madrugs. So wherever you go for a raid, munogona kumushaya munhu iyeye. Why? Because vanenge vatopiwa information kana maybe landlord wacho semunhu anonga achaita munhu wake just because achari kuda imari, but asi kutarisa kuti ari kukosta life yevanhu vakawanda sei, and generation yacho yaari kukosta ndiyo yacho maleaders emangwana. Because as long as they are hiding those people, as police officers, it becomes now difficult. Because isusu wherever we know about those people, we bring them to book. And we make sure kuti kana vasungwa, and the law takes its own course.
Okay. And maybe in terms of a 15-year-old found in possession of drugs, we are saying kuti already mana are underage, but awanipa in possession of drugs. Maybe from a community point of view, Holy 10, where do you think these youngsters are getting these drugs from?
Drugs are everywhere. Drugs are everywhere, whether in the pharmacy, whether on the street. Drugs are everywhere. You can even make drugs in your own house. Kune vana vanakanzwa even mabauti mumbaje. So drugs are everywhere. but it's the knowledge and the education that we need to give. You see, the constable is explaining kuti timapurisa kana tabata munhu madrugs tinomusunga. So then isusu tinouya tinovapa education yekuti right musaita izvi zvinosungisa. Wasungwa, you no longer have a future, you no longer. It's about the education. But drugs, they're
everywhere.
Yes.
So maybe you mentioned a very interesting point about other artists who are already supporting drugs and substance abuse. So what do you do in this media industry to say, guys, is there a way we can collaborate to actually fight and that eradicates this issue? Or but then at the same time we're actually harming our communities?
We empower the positive message that we bring to the people. And that's the reason why we are probably why I'm probably one of the biggest artists in Zimbabwe right now. It's because the message, the positive message that we bring, that's the simple thing. We give the people the right knowledge, the right message, and the people receive it. And then everyone else that is seeing Snabaza.
Okay. I love the part where you said I'm one of the...
I wanted to say I am the biggest, but no.
All right, it's fine. And officer, what has been the police force doing to mitigate this?
Okay, isimapurisa tangachita anonzi ma-operations ekumeka sure kuti tinosunga vanhu vese vanoita chemadrugs, and we're also sensitizing the community through tinoti ma-awareness campaigns, and whereby we do them wherever, sometimes at schools. Paya tinounganidza vana vechikoro, and then we talk to them the effects of drugs and zvazvinozoita muupenyu hwako.
Okay.
Saka isusu semapurisa, I think we are trying to play a big role with other stakeholders kuti make sure kuti we do not tolerate any drug dealers or even vana vacho kuti vaite zvemadrugs. Hatitodi zvachose because zvinokanganisa community. Drug abuse inotanga ingori mumba, chingoitirwa mumba, but at the end of the day zvopesa zvakaafecta community. Like kuti mwana akutongopengereka everywhere, haachatozivi zvaanoita, akutongorara everywhere. And according to the constitution, a child is a child, and it's everybody's responsibility.
Okay, so maybe after this short break, I would want us to get more into the social life of mwana kana achinga achitora drugs. And yes, viewers, you're watching the Legal Talk Show, proudly brought to you by Say What, with support from the Swedish Embassy in Zimbabwe. I'm your host, the Dynamite and Vana, but now we're going to take a short break and we'll be back soon. Hello viewers, and welcome back to the Legal Talk Show, proudly brought to you by Say What, with support from the Swedish Embassy in Zimbabwe. Also, do make sure to like, follow, and leave a comment on our social media handles, and do get in touch with us on our toll-free number, which is 577 for psychosocial support, SRHR solutions, and child protection services. And on this discussion today, we are discussing more on drugs and substance abuse. And as we're unpacking the contents of this issue, I'd like to understand more from Holitel in terms of the girl child. What are some of the things that happens to the girl child when they're intoxicated by drugs?
When a person is intoxicated, they usually don't have much free will. They can do anything. You know, that mindset that they're in, anything can happen. That's why it is even a crime. I'm sure the officer can confirm. You can't even sign a contract with Munakadakwa. It's not legally binding. The moment someone is intoxicated, even consent as far as sexual relations are concerned, ashbude. So the moment the girl child is under these substances, men begin to exploit. I've seen a lot of these things happening. The girl child, there are a lot of cases where there have been my infections, my STIs, my unwanted pregnancies, because someone took advantage of a girl when she was under the influence of something.
Okay. Yes. And maybe, officer, from your own point of view, because you work in the communities, you work with other young people, and you're saying that you actually do awareness campaigns in terms of addressing this subject matter. So I'd like to understand what you think are some of the social ills that happens when a person is intoxicated.
Munhu kana akadhakwa, haana kana decision. Haakwanisi kana kuziva even zvaakataura kana zvaakaita. Saka that's when some of varume they take advantage now. Anokwanisa kutongoziva kuti munhu ndinomuda but anokwanisa kumuchitsa shoko. Next thing, anomudhaga one or the other. As Holy Ten once said, my drugs, they are everywhere. Saka anomudhaga in whatever zvaanokwanisa kuita, zvaanokwanisa kumudhaga nazo. And then at the end of the day, take advantage. Some they are being raped, some they are also involved in human trafficking. They are being trafficked as far as South Africa. Because if you see, you can find that a child, because ask us yet, and even for 2 weeks, so that same person, anything. And to an extent yekuti paanozomuka kuti unyazomubvunza chichanga chichiitika ka haakwanisi kuziya, but he or she can feel kuti body yake pana zvanga zvichiitika. Yeah, so therefore tikutaura kuti isisu as a society tosaka tichingoti ngatimboite no to drugs, zvingogare zvangopera, because we cannot protect those children, because madrugs acho zvaakungowanikwa everywhere. Even in primary school unokwanisa kuwana mwana ine drug, secondary school, but ukazonyazomubvunza kuti drug iroro ndirei, rinoshandei, unoziya here zvarinoita mwiri, mwana anongasitona kana knowledge.
Okay, interesting. And maybe leader of the youth, we have so many young girls, or maybe not even young as such, but maybe girls in tertiary institutions, and because us as say what we advocate for is a healthy generation. So we have these girls in tertiary institutions, maybe even not even in high schools, like the Dominican convent story. They attend parties out of free will. They really want to be there. So what do you think now is the push factor when they get to the parties to say, this girl is actually taking drugs? Is it because of the peer pressure? Is it because they want to feel high or something? I don't even understand how that works.
This is the identity crisis. Oh. Yes. That's where everyone lacks integrity. Trust me, some of the people are not Brahmin newspaper and you see well-mannered parents but the moment they are out there, mass intelligence, peer pressure. Maybe those, then they influence these ones that don't have identity, low self-esteem, because they got to feel like kwedu hakuna zvinhu, kwedu hatichenya or whatever. It's the self-esteem, and then they end up trying to do what these people are doing. And some of these drugs are on experimental now. The moment you hit the first time, you're already addicted. Okay. Yes, so it's now unfolding into these patterns. Drugs. There's more crime, all that. Okay. It's a mess.
And the most interesting part is that we have drug dealers who are already well known, but they are still there in the society, and it seems like nothing is really being done. So I want to understand, maybe from a law enforcement perspective, what is being done in terms of addressing drug dealers already known in the society, but then they are still there free.
Okay, they do free, but somewhere. They are not free, because according to the constitution in Zimbabwe, not everyone has got the right to bail. Okay. I mean,
yes.
That part of it, and nobody knows what is free, but they will not be free. Because as you said, as law enforcers, we bring them to book. And then when you bring them to book, some of them, but some of them, but it's we don't get tired. But at the same time, my drugs, they are everywhere. Because now even kudzimba dzedu aviko anditi saka ipapo ndo pakunetsa manje, because it's not like kare votatozeti mbanje ndo dzinodhaka. There was introduction of bronchlia iriko izvo chikwana introduction yedombo, tapedza kudaro mapampers chaiwo vamwe vari kumashandisa madrugs, matv anzwa nekuboro anditi mamwe mabulbs chaiwo. Saka ipapo ndo panozonetsa manje. But is this as police officers, drug dealers, to bring to book? Even some of the news, zikana kwese una number you can vamwe vacho munotonyatsozeti vakatonyatsosungwa vakaendeswa kukoti vakaendeswa kujail. But some they paid fine, they come out, some vanotoseva money masentence avo vanodzoka. But chandoza necho wherever a drug dealer has been brought to book, haadzokeri mucommunity yake yaakambenge ari. anogona kutoti abva maybe as far as Epworth uenda unotanga kuparitira kuHopley. Saka vekuHopley havazomuzivi kuti chi is a prominent drug dealer. But community inenge ichimuziva. Pane patinototega munhu totomuziva kuti is a drug dealer. Anofanira kugara achingovhizitiwa. Panoitwa maraids, panoitwa maoperation. Totongoziva kuti tototangira ipapo. Even kana vamwana vakashayikwa togona kuti unovatsvaga ipapo taimboziva kuti pane bhesi rakati. Sometimes unotonzwa kuti hapasina kana bhesi, hapasina munhu iyeye, haachaitire kuno, amene kwaakatoenda.
Okay. And the best part of this conversation is because we have you and you're representing from the legal point of view in terms of these issues. So maybe I'd like to understand, maybe for the benefit of our viewers as well, is there really a sentence to say this person is going in jail for maybe my years akati, or it's just maybe you pay fine and then you're out, but then at the same time the people are going back into the society and influencing the same things over and over again?
Yes, there's a sentence because it's 5 years and below for a sentence of drug dealers or even drug possession. And second, then at the same time, they can also be given an option of a fine. Yes, so some of them they pay fine, some of them they go and save their jail term, but after that, some vano reform, some they don't even reform. And then some, when they become an addict, your court can just even rehabilitate that same person. You know, to bring a judgment, you to manage to bring a rehab, umbono rehabilitate.
So maybe just for interest's sake, I'm getting drawn into this conversation. I'd like to understand, Kutie, the legal frameworks in Zimbabwe. We have policies, we have the Constitution of Zimbabwe. Do you think that is really addressing the issue of drugs and substance abuse on a legal lens?
Everyone is addressing that because it has affected everyone and it has affected the country as a whole. Because atisina kuti hanzi kwamainingi kana kuti kwaningi because that same child mangwana anenge achitsangana nemwana wako kuchikoro omudzidzisa futi madrugs, that same child anenge asangana nemwana wako mutown asingamuzivi but anokwanisa kumudzidzisa madrugs. Saka as a country everyone is addressing is worried about drug abuse, and I think the government as a whole is taking action. That why michona kana ma rehabilitation centers awanda, ma homes, mwana anobviswa mucommunity anogara unoiswa place of safety kwekuti maybe anokwanisa kurefoma. Ma rehabilitation chaiva vanhu vakuru, they are even vari kutowanda because it seems government is not happy about ma drug dealers and drug abuse.
Okay, so I believe that in fighting the issue of drug and substance abuse, it requires collaborative effort.
Yes.
So which means even need to address this situation. And maybe to you, Holliton, what are some of the mechanisms that you think can be put in place to address this?
Let's talk about it. Let's expose it. You know, the moment we keep shining light upon it, is no needs akuwandisa. Mukaona best taurai besira. Mukaona mwana kuita behavior. Let's try to help that child. When we can try and understand the problem. Some of the problems, I'm not going to why some of the people started my drugs. Problems that could have been solved in 2 minutes. So let's keep talking about it like this. This is a very good platform. Let's talk, let's shine light upon the issue.
Okay, so maybe from your own words, officer, what do you think, what are some of the mechanisms that you think should be put in place to address this?
I think chinotangira kumba. We have what we call positive parenting, monitoring yevana chaiyo. Because drug isina age. Even a grade 1, anotogona kutanga kutongonakidzwa nazvo zvotangira pangotora mudzanga uye wakaputwa nemumwe ngobatidza ototanga kutoratidza kuti ane interest nazvo. Saka positive parenting and monitoring vana vedu hongu tinosora mabasa, hongu tinoita zvakasiyana siyana, but at the end of the day vanhu vacho vari kushandira ndo vana vacho. Tinofanira kuzovamonita kana tadzoka kudzimba, what is she doing, mafriends ake kwaari kuswera, foni yake chaiyo ngatitry to monitor, because as long as mwana iye asina knowledge anenge achiona kunga drug rakanaka, because munhu anenge akatora drug ube hai anoita zvese zvaanoda, anoseka at any time, anorara, anodii. Saka therefore inini I always encourage what we call a positive parenting, kutaura nezvazvo. Mazuva you must not be shy, because vana vacho mazuva ano vakutongozvarwa vaine knowledge vachikwanisa kunzwisisa vachida kuexperimenta. Therefore hatina age. saka tikuti isusu vabereki ngatitangei mashows aya ngaendere mberi, ma-awareness campaigns everywhere, kuzvikoro pai, wherever vana pavanomita ma-youngsters, ma-youths, ma-teenagers, let's talk about it. And so that, because takufanira kuadresa kune vacho vari kuaffectwa.
Okay.
Yes.
And in terms of positive parenting, I believe you're in the child protection field. And I think it's one of the things that are very important and key, that parents actually sit down and discuss issues. And at the end of the day, there's certain issues that remain a taboo, or things that we don't even want to discuss. For example, things concerning sex, our parents don't want to talk about it. So I want to understand maybe, Hollyton, from your own point of view in terms of positive parenting, that in the communities that you're coming from, do you think that this is really applicable to our parents, to say they actually use this positive type of parenting?
Yes. Like even what they say about charity, it begins at home. So kumba ikoko kumba panba unaona kuti mwana uyu marariro aya. Some of these things, they just indicate, you can see istoziva vanhu veguka vanoti vaita kana 2 weeks vari away, they can spend 1 week without waking up. So sometimes the child is not tired, or sometimes mwana has kuita rough. Some of these indicators, then you can be able to help these children from a very young age. Because once
okay. And maybe just because you're an artist, you can shed more light on, because many young people think that most artists like right now, maybe I'm assuming that but it might not be the case. And they think that maybe kind of drugs, you perform better, whatever you want to do. So maybe you can shed more light in terms of, do you guys take drugs into kind of muchimba music maybe to perform better, or it's not really about drugs, you can be whoever you want to be without even taking these drugs?
Well, like what we're talking about when I was saying drugs, there's use of drugs and then there's abuse of drugs. Alcohol itself is a drug. Yes. So there are people that drink alcohol so that they can function, so they can feel some type of way. That's legal. It's allowed to drink alcohol. But drinking and driving and stuff like that doesn't happen. But we're talking about abuse, drugs. And I know that there's that stereotype, artist. I don't blame it. My artists I won't lie to you. I've watched careers falling. There are people that I know could have been somewhere, but then they are not going anywhere because they are using my substances. So those are let's talk about this, because at the end of the day, careers are at stake. Health is at stake. The whole country is at stake. And it's not even just Ugu. You find even CEOs, managers, people that wear suits, requests, like we were saying with the officer. The drugs are everywhere.
All right, interesting. Okay, so TikTok time is no longer on our side, but maybe just for the benefit of our viewers, officer, what are your parting words in terms of this subject?
Okay, and I just want to encourage the youth or everyone in Zimbabwe that even in Tinebasa, mukufighta drug abuse, even in Tinebasa mukuraise vana vedu mu society yakanaka ine hunhu yekuti mangwana izotikanganisi in one or the other. Because vana ava ndo maleaders emangwana. Therefore tinofanira kuti tinyatsotanga kuvaguruma mune zvakanaka vachingokura kusvika vazokwanisa kusvika pakuzvimirira vega vozoita maleaders chaivo.
Okay, and I think we should discuss more on the issue of positive parenting as well, so that the parents that are also watching have a clear picture on what it is. And maybe to you, Hollyton, you're the leader of the youth. I don't know if that's a self-imposed title,
yes,
or maybe it's
okay.
I want to understand. There's a young person that's looking at you right now that looks up to you to say, Hollyton, you get. What is the message that you'd like to put out to them in terms of drugs and substance abuse?
I would like to say, in as much as I could be anyone's role model, in as much as you could fear the law, you are the one that's going to hold the decision and the school drugs. Say, but then it's in you. Put yourself down, slow down, and question yourself.
All right. And thank you so much for joining me on the Legal Talk Show. And yes, viewers, you're watching the Legal Talk Show, probably brought to you by Say What, with support from the Swedish Embassy in Zimbabwe. Do make sure to leave a like, comment, and follow on our social media platforms. And also do get in touch with us on a toll-free number, which is 577 for psychosocial support, SRHR Solutions, and Child Protection Services. My name is The Dynamite, and I'm signing out.